Epic Action, a Star Wars Unlimited podcast. Your source for community building, tournament tips, deck building discussion, and all things Star Wars Unlimited.
Welcome to Epic Action, a Star Wars Unlimited podcast. My name is Raul, your host for today. With me I have...
What's up, guys? I'm Nick.
What's going on, everybody? I'm Paul.
So, we just, I guess we're doing another podcast here. This is our first attempt at doing one, at least for myself. I've listened to a lot of podcasts, like Star Wars Legion podcast, Shatterpoint, little Halo Flashpoint now recently. So I'm all over the place, but we're just, three bros have been playing Star Wars Unlimited for a couple of months now, and we wanted to, share some of our conversations with people and, do a little community outreach, hopefully build our own community down in Northern Virginia, where we're located. Paul and myself live down in Fredericksburg, and Nick's in Woodbridge, so we kind of travel to a bunch of stores. Yeah, so I've been playing since the game came out. Before this, the only other TCG I've really played was Destiny, so I kind of had an idea of how that was the game. I can see some of the trends from Destiny to this game now, like with a new set coming out, the indirect damage, that's just ripped straight from Destiny. How about you guys?
Well, I've never done a podcast myself. I've been a guest on quite a few Legion podcasts. Why did I get into SWU? That's because of you, Raul.
Yeah.
Kind of browbeat me into it.
Bad influence.
We were, Legion kind of took a little bit of a dip over the summer, and I was looking for something new. Yeah, new edition. Not really too happy on my end, but hey, it is what it is. People seem to still like it. But I wanted to take a break, try something different. The last TCG I played was Yu-Gi-Oh! When I was a kid.
I still have my decks. I still have Exodia somewhere in my boxes here.
Man.
So
that's awesome.
Mine's
probably in some storage unit somewhere that my mom kept. But yeah, I have no idea where any of my old cards are.
I put my Pokemon stuff recently too. I think I sent off my Charizard to get graded. So
I should try to dig those up at some point. But
yeah, Paul, what about you?
So I guess I'm kind of the TCG old head here.
Yeah.
I'm Paul. First podcast. I don't really do guest appearances too often, but here I am. Got into Star Wars because it was just something that was calling my name. You know what I mean? Like, huge Star Wars fan. Wanted to check out the game when it got announced, and didn't dive right in immediately, but probably about 2 weeks after launch, like, I couldn't hold off anymore. It was just too tempting. Had to dive into it. TCG experience goes back to the mid 90s, probably 95, 96 with Magic. I had younger family members that dabbled in Pokemon, but I was, a Magic head at the time, so Pokemon wasn't up our alley too much. We definitely played the first Star Wars TCG when that launched as well, and kept it going from there, and just dabbled in a bit of everything. Even played a little bit of electronic Pokemon. As an older person.
Yeah, I know you do Lorcana too with your fiance, right?
Yep.
So that's pretty cool. You guys got that. You're telling me on the way up to the PQ this weekend that you did a couple of tournaments early on, like late '90s, early 2000s. So you've been around a little bit. You got lay of the land.
You say 95. I was like, oh man, I was 4 in 95.
Yeah, me too.
I wish, man. I wish I was 4 in 95.
Yeah. So for me, like, I'm primarily a tabletop player. I played Warhammer when I was in high school. Warhammer Fantasy Battles later on in college, and then Legion came out, and I've been playing that since it really came out, and really enjoying it. One of the things I really enjoy about Legion that I also like about Unlimited is the back and forth activations. I think that is really what got me interested in the game. Had to not have that element of back and forth. Like, Magic's cool, I just don't like sitting there like while a person does their whole turn and can't really respond too much. I know there's more nuance to that, but at least with Unlimited, the back and forth activations, you gotta really think on your feet and just adapt to what is happening in that moment. What do you like about it, Nick?
I mean, definitely just reiterate what you said with the back and forth actions. I don't have the Magic to compare it to, but my biggest thing I think is the resourcing. You're never having to like have specific resource cards. You get to make those decisions on the fly. I think there's enough decision making in this game. It's not just very one focused, I guess, unless you're maybe playing Sabine and that's just always hitting bases. But
Oh,
other
Sabine.
than that, I think there's a huge decision tree depending on the deck. I mean, you get to as complex as something like Han Yellow or any of the other hand versions to something as simple like I said as Sabine, where my daughter can play.
Nice. Yeah. What about you, Paul? What's your favorite part of Slew?
I like the diversity of it, really. Like, it's a really wide open format. Still, it's really early. I think we're in PQ season 0 officially. And um, yeah, there's an established meta, but there's also every set, every other week, you're going to see something that's breaking it that came out of left field. You saw it in set 2 PQs with like a Hondo came out of nowhere. And everybody was like, what's the Hondo doing in this top 8? And I think he did pretty well. I think he came in, second or third or something like that. Don't quote me. But there's huge diversity in deck building, and that you can give up the fact that like it doesn't have to be competitive. It can just be fun and building into decks with your characters, with thematic, and um, you maybe not have the best chance against the very best player with the best deck and best opportunities there, but you still have a chance at your casual weeklies just to kind of test and play around and just be like, I just want to have fun this week.
Definitely. I think
Yeah.
this game is very pilot dependent. I think anyone with the right, the right mindset in any deck can really, give someone a good run for their money on any, gets any meta deck.
I tried to be that out of left field deck this weekend. Did not go so well. Spoiler.
Yeah, we'll get to that soon.
Yeah.
Well, so speaking of, so what I was real quick want to touch on our favorite leaders. I think for me, I didn't I didn't blue. Everyone knows that I've just been playing that pretty much nonstop since that one. Dabbled a little bit in Anakin blue, but I guess I'm just a control player, and that's just what I enjoy. What about you, Nick?
I mean, I definitely like Bosk. I liked Boba, and then I got banned, so
Yeah,
rip
that's
Boba. Boss is one of my favorite, more like the Boss Green than necessarily the Boss Blue. Again, like having multiple decisions being able to be made. Been playing a lot of Watt recently, so that's really interesting. Out of left field that I tried to come with, but yeah, I just like making something more my own. I think so. There's things like that. I'm gonna try Anakin. I'm gonna try Palp. I'm gonna try a couple other different things. We'll see where we go from there.
and you mentioned the Boba ban, and that kind of surprised a lot of people that we got it banned so early on. But I think it was a good decision that is now opening up the field. I mean, of course, we're still seeing a lot of Sabine, but people are much more inclined to try things out.
Well, I just find it interesting that they're like, oh, we can't make Boba a 6 cost unit, and then all of a sudden you start seeing the previews for this
Yeah.
next set. Oh,
Yeah.
look, 6 cost 4/7.
Yep,
It's
yep.
almost like that would have fixed it in the first place,
Well,
or at least made it more consistent.
I think they admitted at one point that it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Anyways, Paul, what's your favorite leader?
So for me, not really in the meta with my favorite leader. It's not necessarily what I'm gonna take to a competition, but definitely Thrawn. I like I
Yeah.
like being in cunning a lot, and really cunning command is where I want to play at the most. I really like cunning command if that's you know Jabba or if that's Thrawn. Those two really sit well with me. As far as set 1, set 2, and
Yeah, I
yeah,
remember when
I
I
like
first
the
met
villainy
you.
aspect.
When I first met you, you're on that Thrawn train for quite a while, and I had a lot of really fun games with you there. Just they went on a long time because it was set 1, so Mill wasn't really a super valid strategy yet, but I was still trying it. And just with Thrawn, you were hanging on there till turn 9, and then dropping that Chimera, just
Yeah,
stopping whatever I had in my
absolutely.
hand. So yeah.
I had a good time. I liked the idea, and if you could ramp outside of green really well, I think that would bring some interesting aspects. I mean, outside of OG Han, there's not really a lot of at will ramp outside of command,
Hmm.
which led me to like what can I do to ramp, right? And like really, it boils down to the super laser tech along with the resupply. So you're in villainy green, and then you just have to pick a leader that really sticks out. And to me, I felt like Thrawn gives you just a little bit of extra prep with being able to see what's happening.
Yeah, I think they nailed his thematic play style down of seeing what's happening. Cool. All right, let's move on a little bit. So why don't we kind of talk about what we want to do with this channel? I think the three of it. I think Paul was really the first one who was like, "We should do a podcast," and we just kind of festered on it for a couple of weeks, and here we are. So, I think everyone's, all of us have a little bit of different reason why to do it, but I think the main thing is to grow the game. I think we're just, especially in our area, Northern Virginia, there's a lot of stores, a lot of players, really good players, and this is just kind of gonna be a hub for us to like reach out to people, share experiences, and just build a community.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing for me is like I've really enjoyed this game. It's a lot less time intensive than Legion or other war games, so you can pick it up at any time. Um, so growing that community outside maybe just the competitive scene. I think all of us are kind of more in that average to above average player. We're
Mm,
not going to be the top in every PQ or worlds or anything like that, but trying to find different avenues to, like you said, grow the community outside of maybe just that competitive sphere, which I think we see a lot of the podcasts and the YouTube channels are all kind of more geared towards let's, deck tech it to get it to the best possible version of this deck possible. And I think that's something, while I have some interest in that, it's not the only thing I want to see all the time.
for sure. Now, don't get us wrong. We'll definitely talk competitive tech and go over stuff once in a while. But yeah, I mean, I just, I've met some really cool people the last couple of months that, just for playing this game, and then, reconnect with some old friends who did Destiny many years ago. So community's good. People are fun. They're all friendly and, um, you know, yeah. Paul, what do you want? What is your interest in the podcasting scene here?
I mean, for sure, we spend a lot of time in Star Wars, in SWU, and if that's just collecting or playing, or even just hanging out with the people in the community, like I definitely met both of you through the game. Um, it just happened that way. You know what I mean? It's like you can build real bonds, real friendships with people, and you know, kind of turn just a game into a little bit more than that. And it's fun. It's quick. It's easy. It doesn't have a hard, huge learning curve
Mhm.
to start, and it's deep enough to not be boring to master. Right? Like it's got a nice deep um, chance of. It takes some time, some real thought, and a lot of action to like nail this thing down. Compared to like I could just take a deck and it could be my first day and I could play in a locals. You know what I mean? And we've had several people like that we see at our stores too.
Yep, for sure. Well, speaking of some of our stores, just some quick shout outs to the stores that we play at. Curio Cavern, Springfield, Virginia. We just did a PQ there this past weekend. A lot of us also play at Your Hobby Place, Fredericksburg. Huzzah Hobbies is, I think, Nick's territory. He's up there, up a little bit more north for
Yeah,
us.
on Monday nights, I'm usually working out of Reston anyway, so it's 10 minutes where I used to play Legion all the time too. So, I try to get over there a couple of times so far. We'll hopefully going forward more often.
Yeah. Then we also have Game Garrison, also in Fredericksburg. Any others I'm missing? Crimson Kings, in Stafford. I don't know if we'll do some events there. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I know we're going up, at least I'm going to go up to the Games and Stuff
games and
PQ
stuff. Yep.
here next weekend. I think it's out in Laurel, Maryland. Um, but yeah, I mean, tons of stores up here. They're supporting here. I'm sure we're missing a lot of players that, you know, stick to one store that maybe
Yeah.
we don't go to. That's what we're trying to hope to connect to a lot of different
Yeah.
people. I know there's the DMV
Mhm.
Unlimited Discord, which is great. It's, in my opinion, a little hectic at times, but I think as we go forward, that'll start to get a little bit better and like trying to bridge the
Yeah.
community together.
Yeah, and then we're also like in a pretty interesting spot because we're near DC. We're basically right in the middle between DC and Richmond. So a bunch of stores up there we go to. Richmond has a couple of stores like Waterloo Games, Battlegrounds, One Eye Jack. I've played at all of those. All fun stores to go to. Yeah, let's see. Full outline here that Nick kindly worked on. So we were talking about Melee. Melee?
Yeah, I think with some of the community, we talked about like how do we build that community,
Oh yeah.
and it just kind of made me think like, hey, what are some improvements? Are we using Melee or not? Like I've gone to a couple of stores that like are we don't use Melee, and
Yeah.
they're not like. So if you're not using Melee, how are you advertising your game? Because
Right.
FFG said everybody use Melee, and then some people are using the FFG software. Not to like call out who's on. I mean, they're great up there, but they're still using the FFG software. And every time I mention Melee, they're not sure if other people are using it. So I mean, it just kind of brought me to, like I said, advertising the game. Like,
Mhm.
how are we consistently? Like, some people are using Facebook, some people are using Melee, some people are using the official FFG site, and it's hard to find as an individual player.
Mhm.
And I consider myself probably one is more engaged than others. So how is that new player getting into the game if they're potentially having to go to 4 different places to find
Yeah.
out where to play?
Yeah, so I think this just takes me back to early set one. I was looking for stores to go to events to showdowns. So the event tracker on the Stu website itself is a good start. But stores need to update that, make sure it's up to date, and they're having their events on there. So I think that's the first step for new players. After that, yeah, you kind of gotta jump into Discord, Facebook, just go to your local store and see what night people are playing.
Yeah, I mean the DMV Discord definitely has, I think, a weekly running list of them. I ported it over to our Discord here, so we'll hopefully keep that as updated as possible. I think Discord is now becoming the easiest way to find things over Facebook. Um, but definitely get plugged in, try to find stores in your local area, and hopefully they'll be pushing you to these different groups.
For
So then,
sure. When I first started to like the SWU website, the official site is like how I found stuff in different areas. I traveled back and forth from the Hampton Roads area to Fredericksburg, and definitely SWU put me in the right direction.
So we're thinking about growing the community. What kind of next steps are we gonna look at? I know we do like early on we did learn to play days, and now that most people know how to play, I think we just try to be as welcome as we can on our weekly play nights. Like I said earlier, like a new player comes up, maybe have a deck that they could maybe borrow and just let them jump in.
Yeah, I mean, I think more limited nights. It's hard if I was getting into the game. Like I came in late set one, so I didn't have a whole lot of the set one cards. I still don't have a lot of the legendaries. Um, and I can imagine just a new player coming in with whatever deck they got constructed together, and then coming to a weekly where I think we still have a limited number of players. So the very competitive players are still bringing pretty competitive decks to your weeklies. Um, we don't have enough to like make 2 separate groups or anything. Um, so if we commit, like, I don't know if it's an every other week thing of, hey, let's do a draft night, let's do a sealed night. I know Curio's got one night for draft, one day for premiere. But I know my buddy who I'd love to get into the game. He's like, yeah, if you have like a draft or field night where I can just come and play, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, and early on that was a little bit of an issue because the stock
Sure.
wasn't available, but now it's everywhere, So you're able to, even if you could pick up a box, you can split it with people and do a draft, do a sealed event. Yeah, and then I know Paul is a huge fan of alternate game modes, so I know he likes to do, boot up. I think he was talking about Assassin. Want to talk a little bit about Assassin?
Yeah, sure. We can talk about Assassins. I do want to quick pivot back to
Yeah.
limited is a great format for starters, right? Like they need product and why not give them the most opportunity to choose cards that they like. Like even if it's not going to be a great deck, like look at the cards that we have to offer, grab them. You know what I mean? Like just something jumps out at you. Oh, I really like this Obi-Wan from Spark, right? Like I like this character. Let me take this card. Yeah, etc. You know what I mean? Like limited is a great place to start, and we should be doing more limited for the community.
Agreed.
I think just before we move on to the alternate, just a couple of things I was thinking about as far as how to grow the community. Kind of from that store perspective, maybe have a couple more stores where they have actual singles available. I think that's pretty lacking in our area. And then, uh, this is more from an FFG, I guess, perspective of you got to do I think a little bit more than just the previews of the next set. I think they get too heavy into that a little bit and not enough of like, hey, here's how we're going to maybe have events coming up. And I know this is something they keep talking about. We'll get more information. We'll get more information. But at times, I think that's kind of struggled. Early on, it seemed like a lot of good information they were coming out, especially with the stock shortage. They did a really good job, I think, from a transparency perspective. And I think that's kind of tailed off, and it's been more of a lot preview the next set, and it's like a month, 2 months of just previewing the next set, and you get to the next set, and I was like, all right, I know all the cards before I even open them.
Yeah, I think it's just part of the TCG machine. But yeah.
But Paul, I mean, yeah, if you want to jump into, you played Assassin last night, which is your little homebrewed version of the game.
Yeah, so just a little background. We're talking about like alternate formats, like Twin Suns, the official, multiplayer format. But Paul also had this great idea for a game mode called Assassin.
So Assassins is a multiplayer format. There's some quick concerns behind it, but just to give you guys a quick preview. You basically deal out pairs of cards, right? Doesn't matter what cards they are. You could use playing cards. You know what I mean? As long as you have pairs of cards that are matching, you really want to give a single of the pair to any person that's playing, and then shuffle the other ones. You're going to deal them out, and then you can only affect the person whose card you have. If you have your own card, you can affect anybody, and you can affect anybody that affects you. And I think we played a 5-player game where we were all 5 playing simultaneously. Sorry about that. My phone was ringing. We were all playing simultaneously, and it took us about 35 minutes for all 5 of us to complete the game.
Okay.
So it wasn't terribly long. We did notice that aggro had a little bit of a hard time there and kind of got out pretty early.
What was the feedback from everybody who played last night?
Everybody that played last night said like it has legs. I don't know if that's great. The one of the feedbacks that I got is like when that first player does go out, or when people go out, maybe some type of rule set. Almost like what they were telling me is like anybody that goes out gets a Sabine ping after initiative is claimed. It kind of puts the game on a clock, like that as long as that Sabine ping is coming, like you're taking down everybody's health. across the entire game, right? Like everybody takes a point every turn, and if that Sabine Pink can snipe a kill or to remove a player from a game, then that person can come back in, and they'll get to restore 5, and they won't kind of scoop up everything when they go out. They'll kind of sit there. They'll be pinging people and try to uh, snipe this removal of a person from the game as well, who will also get that chance to come back in and snipe and kind of speed the game up a little bit and turn it from maybe 35 minutes for 5 people to 20 to 25 minutes, which is going to run closer to a normal round of Star Wars Premier Constructed. You know what I mean?
So you're still workshopping this a little bit. I guess we're planning on releasing it to the community. Do some
Yeah,
more
I mean,
testing.
definitely more testing, and
Yeah.
it's just a floating idea. But the people that we did test it with, they seemed like they had a good time. I made sure I asked them like, "What'd you think?" And everybody was like, "It was an interesting format," and they had fun with it. It was a complete change of pace from what they normally do in Star Wars, whether that be good or bad. Um, for people in general, it's just if you're looking to use these cards in the same way that you play Star Wars and have that fun in a bigger format than Twin Suns offers, this is an option.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
I think I would be is super interested in doing that for like a night, one of these every other nights where we're, you know, going back to how do we grow again that community, the pack per win like incentive kind of incentivizes people to bring something that's a little bit better versus, like if we had a day where, hey, we all said, you know what, we can just still bring our constructed deck, but we're going to play a different format, like what Paul had done last night. It just gives everybody a break to kind of get recharge a little bit, build like just get to know each other and have more fun playing Star Wars as opposed to, hey,
Get
I'm
sweaty.
trying to get 3 wins so
Yeah,
I can
get
get 3
sweaty.
packs
Yeah.
because I need these 3 legendaries that
Yep.
I'm missing. Um,
Yeah. What
so
kind of
the last little bit I got to solve was pretty fun. I'm thinking of different ways that uh, another multiplayer mode of my own.
Mhm.
It's going to take a lot more workshopping than Paul's, but I think Paul and I were talking definitely going to test his version a little bit more and then get out a video in the near future.
maybe and it kind of speaks to the design space of this game. There's like a lot of things you can do with it and the rule set they made. So there's the space for us to create custom modes that are going to be wildly imbalanced. Once we figure out most of the details. But yeah, maybe we could throw up a channel in the Discord, some homebrew channel, and then people can talk about these games, test them out. If they have any ideas, welcome to share them with us. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll get on creating that here shortly
Awesome.
after we get.
Yeah. All right.
But
So I think it covers that. Let's move on a little bit. Why don't we talk about the PQ that we all three went to this past weekend? I think was it the first PQ? No, because I guess it was the first weekend of PQs, but it wasn't the first
yeah,
one that happened. So Sunday, what day was that? 5th,
6, I believe.
6th,
6,
5th,
yeah,
5th of
5th.
January. It's a couple days ago for us.
January.
Yeah, we've had snow, so it's just all time is fake right now.
Yeah,
Um, we
For
all went
sure.
to Springfield, Virginia. We played at Curio Cavern. Curio Cavern is one of our local stores. A lot of us go to it when we can. I've been going there for many years, playing all types of games from X-Wing many years ago now to Legion and Unlimited. It's not a huge store, but we managed to fit 67, 66 players in for this PQ.
I think they were scheduled for a few more.
Yeah. So I think they filled the wait list. I think it was like 10 or 15 deep, and they were able to people drop, but we filled those seats up. So it was a full house. It was great. I think it was gonna be 7 rounds based on the number of people, and then it cut to top 8. By some chance, I got a bye round 1. Because
Super tough match.
speaking of Melee, the app, signed someone in that wasn't actually physically there, so they paired me up with him. And after 10 minutes, he wasn't there, so they gave me a game win. But it's just, it's melee needs to work on stuff too. Um, we don't, we don't want to necessarily go into all rounds, but we could talk real quick about, the variety of decks we saw. A lot of other people have posted the top 8, so we've seen that. What won, Sabine, right?
Yep, Sabine Green.
Yep. And the winner was a 2-time PQ winner. I think he won another PQ either the day before or like some recently.
Yeah, he won
The
Baltimore
last
games and
game
stuff.
Yeah.
So good player. I don't know what else to say about it. Nick and I got paired up round 2, so it was team kill.
Yeah,
We
we
actually
got
were put on the stream table because he was playing Wat Tambor. Were you the only Wat Tambor? Or there more?
no, I think I was
Yeah.
literally the only one.
Yeah. So he was trying something out. We want to see what happened, but I was playing Item Blue, and funny enough, like we were testing a couple weeks ago, and he kept destroying me with this deck. And I kind of teched a little bit to go up against his Watam board, which I call the Droid Factory, because I think at one point he had 7 or 8 droid tokens on the table, and swing a Delta attack pattern or something, he just killed me. But I think he made some changes right before the game, or not before the game, before the tournament, and it was quite the same deck, so I was able to, kind of stop your game plan.
Yeah, the Friday before I went to Curio, and instead of having draft that night, they had premiere. And yeah, the old version of that just kind of got stomped by Sabine Yellow, Han Yellow, and then I should have won my third match, but it went close, went the other way. So I was like, oh my god, I'm 0-3. I've got to change this up. I've got to do something completely different, gear it more towards a little bit quicker decks. And lesson learned: don't do that last minute. Because I think I was playing Paul that Saturday night too, and I don't know. Did you end up taking Anakin Green?
I did. I took Anakin ECL up to the PQ, and unfortunately, I had the line of pretty much Sabine Green beating me down throughout the day. I think I ran into a Palp Green that got me as well.
But yeah, we were playing that Saturday night, and I was just like, oh my god, it keeps losing, and I don't feel like there's stuff I can do. And then I showed up. I changed it to be more normal, less Droid Factory esque, and yeah, I ran into a bunch of stuff that was kind of off meta, and it probably would have been better if I had just left it.
I think so, because
So yeah,
I
lesson
literally
learned.
changed my deck because just in case it came
Yeah,
up against yours. I've been playing this Item Blue deck pretty consistently since like beginning of set 2. Like I, this is the first time I actually added any set 3 cards, and they all went to my sideboard, and they were all like, what was the Duchess Champion? That was just
oh,
some guardian against the droid tokens.
yeah,
Didn't end up needing them. But
yeah.
we got recorded. They weren't streaming. They're filming. I guess they're also trying to get some like social media stuff off the ground. So they recorded our match, and they're gonna at some point put it on demand. But I think we are gonna be able to get the footage and also do kind of like a commentary on it, just so you can see, how my control deck plays, versus a Watemboy deck.
Yeah, with yeah, we'll kind of give you our thoughts on it as we're going, because we don't need to sit there and commentate what we're doing. We can actually give you the insight into what we were thinking at that time.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we can. Any other thoughts on the PQ? I mean, all the results are out there. It was well run
Right.
event. A lot of people. I think there's only like 2 or 3 like major like judge calls that required them to like really look it up. But I think it went pretty smooth. I think we all bowed out after round 6 because we knew we couldn't make top 16 or anything. So we went and got some food. I know top 8 did play it out. So they were probably there pretty late. Yeah. What, anything else you want to add, Paul, about the PQ we went to?
I think that with the PQ, you can listen and you can study as much as you want, but until you get through that first one, to kind of see what the lay of the land is going to be, it boils down to a lot of plan everywhere. You know what I mean? It's like you have to really hope the field is working to what you think it is. And if you're studying and you think that the Sabine Green meta is slowly coming downwards because of the pace, with like Quinlan and Django, you're wrong. Sabine is there, and she's going to be there doing her thing. And as you saw with our PQ, Sabine did take it all, and it was definitely, I would say, the heavy majority in the field. I ran into it, I want to say, at least 3 times, and I might have won once out of those, and even those wins are tight. You know what I mean? They're an action away from winning, and I mean that's back and forth. That's what Sabine does. She catches you with that fourth turn flip, and she'll get you. You know what I mean? That's just what it is. I had a lot of fun, regardless of placing. I don't know if that's just what losers say. That's what my old lady said. uh, Losers are like, yeah, I had a great time. Winners are like, I got to play Matt. So,
Well, do want to give a quick shout out to Jeff Glazer. He's a local player of ours, Fredericksburg. He took 3rd place with Sabine.
Shocking.
Yeah, no, he's a good player, but he did tell me right before we started that he wasn't expecting to play, but he got off the wait list and he didn't really have time to put anything else together. So it's like Sabine it is, and I think he guessed for an article for a podcast. So you want to look that up, he has some thoughts on that, but yeah, it's just Sabine's pretty straightforward deck.
Top
Hit the
4
base.
was 2 Sabine Green ECLs that played each other and 2 Han Yellows that played
Yeah.
each other. So that'll give you an idea of where things are going.
Yeah, yellow's good. Let's see. So I think, are you the only one going to this PQ now, games and stuff in 2
Ooh, I
weeks?
guess so. If Buck's
Yeah.
gonna join me, man, since it's like a week and a half away, I'm not playing Watt. That's for sure.
Mhm. Are
I
you gonna
think
switch to
I'm gonna
Sabine?
play Boss.
Okay.
No, I don't have Pose, so no Sabine. I think I'm gonna go with Bosk. I think I have the most familiarity playing Bosk, at least green version. Whether I decide to play Boss Blue, I'm not entirely sure yet. But right now, that's one of those two are gonna be the front runner.
definitely
And
think Boss Green here, just to interject and jump in there. Like Boss Blue is great, and like we've seen that it has results, but right now Boss Green I think is really the better play.
yeah, my only issue with Boss Green before was that if you don't get the ramp off, you're really struggling to keep up like through the middle of the game. Um, so if you don't get the ramp early, that's kind of puts you on the back foot a little bit. Um, so we'll see. One of those two.
Yeah, that's agreeing as
Um,
well. I think having played Control over this last weekend and many other tournaments, one thing that is always an issue at these big events is time, because I
yeah,
can play really fast. My deck, I played it so much,
yeah,
but I timed out in 2 of my games because it just people need a minute to think and the games just go long because it's whoever decks out first or
right.
makes
And
a mistake.
that's hard for me because I'm a pretty fast player.
Right.
So it's
So
yeah,
just
I
something to
can
keep
get
in mind if you're
frustrated.
considering. Yeah, just something to keep in mind if you're considering taking a control deck to a PQ. It's not that they're good and they can work.
Yeah.
But time's gonna be not on your side.
Yeah. And I think the other thing I probably want to do differently is make sure not change it the night before. That's probably a good idea. But keep
Not me changing it
consistently
an hour before we left.
consistently playing it
Yeah.
over the week and a half before we get there, I think is what I'm gonna end up doing. So that's really where I'm at with the next PQ. Hadn't thought much else about it. But try to do a little bit better at least.
Or Showdown coming up.
We do have a showdown next
Yeah.
week as well.
We'll crush all of you.
Probably. I'm trying to go for the 3-peat. This is at your hobby place. It's next Wednesday. I think there's 16 seats. I don't know when we're posting this. It could be before or after. Hopefully it's before.
Yeah, hopefully.
I've won the first two out of sheer luck. I'm gonna try to get this one, but I got some fierce competition here. So we'll see.
Yeah, I wasn't in those last two, just FYI.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Anything else, or should we wrap it there?
Did we want to? I guess we kind of hit local meta. It's
Yeah, I think that's a little bit bigger conversation
Yeah.
that we can get into, but in the broad strokes is that our local meta is very, very varied. Everyone plays a lot of different things. I think I saw someone playing. We had someone playing Boba 2 green.
Yep, ran into that one.
Rick, he's a little sleep. It's a bit of a sleeper. Yeah, it's tricky with that deck. But he's pretty good with it. We have a couple people who really love IG88, and they'll run double red IG88 and murder you in 3 turns if you're not careful. Kylos, yeah. It's like a lot of
Vader. Somebody had.
Yep. So we have we have different versions of Agri, not just Sabine. Some other things that people like to play in our area.
Yeah, so I think in the future we'll probably talk about how do you prepare for something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so that'll be some, like you said, a future episode. Cool. Paul, anything you'd like to add?
I think I'm good, honestly. Like I think we covered a lot for the first episode. Yeah.
Well, if you listen this far, thank you. Hopefully we'll get this ball rolling a little bit. Drop some short videos here and there. Like I think we'll do, like I said, once we get the footage for our PQ game, we'll put that out as a little slide video. But this is Epic Action. I'm Raul.
I'm Nick.
I'm Paul.
We'll catch you next time.